Good morning, everybody. It sounds like a big crowd, a big socially distanced, safe crowd, all right? So welcome to MPI's January 30th, 2021 open house. My name is Kevin Walsh. I'm the Enrollment and Marketing Director, and we are here with some very special people that are gonna give you a taste of this amazing place. Just a couple of quick announcements. I'm gonna turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies, Scott. We have April 5th start. This is new. MPI has not had a spring start. You ever had a spring start, Kurt? No, this is cool. So it's gonna be in the afternoon, starting April 5th on Monday through Thursday from 2 to 6 p.m. And a couple of those days are probably gonna be online, but we also have on campus. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But please talk to us about that. The application is right on the website, but otherwise we also have our evening and morning programs starting in September. We are FAFSA eligible. That's new this year as well. Right around October is a long process. MPI is very proud that it has been accredited. It's like about a 5-year process, wasn't it, Kurt? Something like that. So it's a big blue ribbon. And FAFSA, Pell Grants, federal student loans can be used. So please talk to us about that. It's also in your packet. Did anyone get a packet? Okay, we're going to come around with those packets in a little bit, all right? So we'll pass that out. It's got a lot of information on it. Application process is super easy on our website, no charge. And I'll follow up with an email on the next steps. And just again, to reiterate how safe we are since, well, everybody will probably always remember March 16th now, the rest of your lives, how everything changed. But we reopened in June, but it was very strict guidelines. Our classes are here on the stage. You can see the ceiling, the space here. Everybody's socially distant, wearing masks, and a lot of precautions. So you can talk to us about if you have any concerns about that as well. Okay, so I'll do some couple quick introductions. You met Kevin outside at the check-in, Kevin Dominic. He's one of our grads. He just graduated this past October, our class of 2020. Also Alex Regala and Jake Seiper. They are grads of 5 years ago, Alex? How long for you, Alex? Or Jake? 4. He didn't know there was gonna be a quiz today. Yeah, so a little bit of math, but they're gonna be helping you guys on set. So we're gonna look for some volunteers to be on crew and also some actors, okay? Also, I wanna, you'll see him around a little bit. He's got a blue sport coat on. It's Doug Schultz. He's one of our founders. He's the president. He's a motion picture director and writer. And also Kurt Mayry, who's over there next to the sign that says financing and admissions. And so Kurt is the guy, he's the CFO. He's also a filmmaker and producer. And he really knows a ton of information about financial aid. So if you have any questions, please talk to him about that. Also want to point out Jeremy Schroeder. Jeremy, you met already. He is our equipment manager. And also he's an instructor for our production lab. And before that, in his previous life, and he still is, he's professional in the business and Grip and Electric, and worked for 10 years on Law and Order and Enchanted. That was a big hit the other day, wasn't it? We were doing a workshop with a bunch of high school students and all these girls started peppering Jeremy with Enchanted questions. That was unusual. You don't get those questions too often, do you, Jeremy? And also I want to put Josh Bowron, who is in our editing lab. He's our editing instructor, and he's a drone pilot, and he's a pyrotechnician, and he works at Channel 7, and he's just an amazing guy. And after you guys do this workshop here, you're going to go into the edit lab, and Josh is going to walk you through the editing stuff. And also Doug's in the back right now. He just stepped up. So that is Doug Schultz, our president, CEO, and he's around too if you want to chat with him. So I'm going to turn it over to one of our alum, as well as one of our amazing instructors, Scott Norman.
I got to do my own introductory work. Everybody got this long introduction. Hey, everybody, thank you for coming out on this cold, frigid day to learn about our school. We appreciate you making it. And hello to everybody in TV land, if there's anybody out there. My name is Scott Norman. As Kevin said, I graduated from MPI a few years ago. I can't remember now. It's been a while, probably just about a year before you. Yep. I'm also one of the acting instructors here. It was something I started after I graduated. But I'd like to share my story with you. I have a relatively long and unique experience with MPI, and I think it will be enlightening for you about what MPI has to offer. I like to tell my story backwards because it seems to make more sense about what there is to offer you here. Hope you indulge me for a few minutes. So as I said, I'm an acting instructor here. I've been teaching here for, gosh, I think 3 or 4 years now. And I love it. I love working with the students. I love working with the other teachers, particularly because they were my teachers not too long before I started teaching here. It's really a cool family environment. You know, when you graduate from the school, you still have access to these instructors who are really concerned about your careers and your ability to apply the skills that you've learned from them going forward. I don't know if there's an echo effect here, but it's okay. All right, I can hear myself speaking. I don't know if it's not the normal talking in my back of my head. It's something new. But before I came to school here, I was an actor for about 10 years here in Michigan. I decided to come here. A few years ago, I was in your seats in the same soundstage wondering, is this the school I need to go for? I've been wondering about working on the other side of the camera after being an actor for several years. I wanted to have a little bit more control over what I did and the kind of work I had access to. And so I came here for the open house to ask questions, to meet the teachers and see if this was a school was all that it's cracked up to be. And I hope that you'll make the same decision that I did and that it is. But I came to find out about MPI through a longer process. As I was working professionally on commercials and films in the area, I noticed that every set I worked on had a graduate from MPI. They were either working on the camera crew, or they were taking care of the digital, technology, or they were on grip. Somebody on the set had graduated from MPI, everywhere I worked. Before I started working professionally here, when I first came to Michigan, I'm originally from New York City. That accent probably won't come out unless you really get me angry. But I moved here. My wife, I was chasing a woman, got her. She's from Pontiac. But she had guaranteed me, oh, there's plenty of acting work here. There's stuff to do when you come to Michigan. You'll be able to do your acting here. And she was right. One of the first experiences I had was to volunteer for this weird little film school. It was in a different location at the time. They needed actors to give their filmmaking students practice filming actors. And it was an incredible experience for me as a beginner, because I was actually on a set, on a soundstage, watching people learn their craft in the sound department and the lighting department, the camera department. And there was a director there, and it was very professional. And I got to be honest, it was no different than any professional set that I worked on the years that followed. It was a student set, it was a classroom environment, and it was maybe not here, it was another building, but it was MPI. So I tell you that story in backward stages to sort of give you to make a few points about MPI. One, it's been here a long time. I came here, moved here, 17 years ago, and the schools had already been established. So it's been here a long time, not going anywhere. In that long time, it's been putting out professionals. Everywhere I go, everywhere I've worked, especially in Michigan, but I know people in New York, in LA, in Atlanta. There are professionals from MPI working all over the world, not just the country. You have them in India, in Nigeria, Iceland, I think. People come from elsewhere to here to learn and then take their talents back home with them, wherever home tends to be. Or they move on to another home, make a new home. A new city, whether it's Chicago or Mumbai or Atlanta, LA, all over the place. The other point I wanted to make out is that not only is it not going anywhere, but the teachers are still going to be here for you. Graduates have access to the equipment, they have access to the soundstage, they have access to the teachers. People are constantly coming back and asking questions, working on professional projects and wondering, how do I improve my abilities to do this work, whether it's a writing project or a directing project or a music video, whatever it is. People continue to come back. You're actually going to meet, here's one student back here, but a couple others who introduced themselves earlier are back volunteering their time, so you can see how good the school is and what the school has to offer and how it's been a great choice for them in the future. So that's my story. I hope that by the end of this presentation, we have a couple of things to show you today, you'll decide that MPI is what you're looking for. is going to help you get into the industry and that you think it's a family that you want to be a part of. Where am I here? I'd like to take it back. Who want to give it off to next?
Jeremy's going to give us a rundown of what's
Okay, well, all right, I wasn't sure we'll jump into that first. What we're going to do is put on a little demonstration here about of some of the things that we learned here at MPI. We're going to give you an example of film shoot, maybe something you've already seen before at a small level, but just to give you a sense of what it's like on a set, in case any of you have not had any experience. And then you're going to have a chance to edit that, what we shoot here in the next half of the presentation. But Jeremy's going to come and tell you a little bit more about what we're doing here. Before we start, I'm going to need a couple of volunteers. First, I need 2 actors who might be willing to help you. Keep your mask on. 1 actor, yes, please. 2 in the back. Would you both come up, stand up and come to the front, please? We're gonna need any help on the. We are. All right. All right. I'll let Jeremy get help from the crew. We might need some camera work and helpers and so forth. But my actors, please come forward.
So Scott is going to talk to our actors for a couple minutes, but where we are sort of in the stage at this point, when you're shooting a shot for a motion picture, basically we follow a very sort of specific routine where we start by just plainly figuring out what it is we need to shoot. That's our first step block. Then we go into the next phase where we deploy all of our equipment to get the shot set up right. We light it, we get the cameras, everything. We've basically taken those 2 steps already. So where we are in the process with the demonstration that we're going to show you guys is essentially now the execution point, where we actually roll the cameras, we keep everything in focus, and we actually shoot the shot that we're talking about. Now the shot entails a couple of actors, one sitting on the bed there and one behind or something. Scott's going to figure something out for us. The shot is going to basically be a dolly shot that's going to start a little bit wider, but track in to sort of a close-up of one of the 2 actors. There's a little bit of a tricky shot because there's some interesting little focus problems. So we're going to need 3 people to operate the camera. Believe it or not, it actually takes 3 people to focus, move, and operate the machinery to make the picture. Sound microphone. So we're going to have a total of 4 volunteers that I'm going to need here in a second. But from there, we're basically just going to take the volunteers, take them through a quick instructional as to what each of them is responsible to do during the take. And then I'll sit up here and tell jokes until they're all ready to go or something like that. Okay, cool. So I need 4 volunteers. First of all, I need a camera operator. You want to be the camera operator? Okay, come on up. What's your name? Javon. Okay. And then I'm going to need a dolly grip. Okay. Cool. And I'm going to need a focus puller. Someone to pull focus. Okay, sure. Come on up. And I'm going to need a microphone operator. Oh, sorry. Who was first? Cool. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple people who are going to help you through this process. This is Alex and Jake. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of set you guys up as the camera people. I'll work on the set with you in just one second. But essentially what you have to do.
And while this is happening, I'm going to have Kurt Mary, our CFO, one of the school's founders. He's going to kind of talk about what the departments behind are going on. Kurt's produced many a film, and not only that, but when you walk down our hallways and you see all of our alum and all the films they worked on, Kurt can probably tell you every single job every single one of his alum has ever had here. So I'll turn it over to Kurt Mary.
In order to make that happen. Are you guys ready? We'll get away. You guys work with
Okay, pull this down a little bit. Okay, hi everybody. My name's Kurt Mary, as Kevin introduced, and I'm the Director of Education here at the school. I oversee the school curriculum, program development, professional development of instructors. We do a review every year of our curriculum and making sure, working with our with Catherine McDermott, who is not here today, but Catherine is our film program chair and career services specialist. And her job is to place students in the field once they complete the program. And she also interfaces with the industry. Her background is working, she started off in Hollywood back in the 1970s. 30s. She's watching this, she's gonna hit me if she shows up here. In the 70s. She's worked for Columbia Pictures. She ended up being the vice president of production at Columbia Pictures for quite a few years. Her resume includes films like Spider-Man 1 and 2, and a bunch of those types of films. I could go on, but I'll let you look at her resume online. But her job is to, help students make the transition from our program into the industry. And part of the process is for her to, as I mentioned, interface with the industry and find out what are the relevant skills that students need to have in order to be, employable in this field. And to be employable in the field requires, an understanding of what the technologies are, what the business practices are, how to conduct yourself on a film set, what the entry points are and where the end points are really. The film industry is a industry that promotes from within very quickly, and it's a industry that requires that people know you by your work ethic and your talents if you're showcasing them. So she meets with these people and she helps us develop our curriculum over each year to year to make sure that we're staying up to date with what's happening in the film business. And it's not just the film businesses and feature films, it's also all the offshoots to that. And those would be things like, documentary filmmaking, music videos, commercials. Detroit is, if you're not familiar with the Detroit area or Michigan in general, it's the entire industry here was built on commercials and commercial production going back, about 100 years, believe it or not. There are studios in town here that are 100 years old. There's one on East Grand Boulevard called Jam Handy, as a matter of fact. So it has a long storied history in that. And you've also have a lot of independent filmmakers that have made their start here, and you've had that arena as well. Hence, the movement to feature films. So, our objective is to make sure that the program stays compliant kind of with what's going on in the outside world. And, we develop classes around that. The class content changes over time, and so is the technology as a result of that. And one of the long-standing classes that we've had actually from the inception is kind of what's going on behind me here, and that is what we call production lab. And while technologies change and there's new positions that erupt here and there because of technology, the process of making film hasn't changed that dramatically over the course of the last century. You still have a camera, right? You have lights, you have audio, you have performers, and then you have people who work behind the scenes that you may not be familiar with, that we introduce you to, that help manage what's happening. And these people are really crucial and often overlooked because they're not familiar. People who generally watch movies aren't familiar with the sort of the underpinnings. People like the assistant director or the unit production manager, the coordinators, even the script supervisor, which is, I'll tell you, it may run across when you watch the credits of a movie, but their role is essential, especially as projects get bigger and bigger and there's more stuff being shot. They become an important asset to any film because in the end, this footage goes somewhere, right? It goes to the editorial room, and the editor has to know what's going on and what they're getting. And the script supervisor really is sort of the link between the production set and the editor, and making sure everything turns out okay. So there's all these different aspects of film, but the production lab class is one of the kind of the entry points for the program that we start students out in. And what we do is we bring in the class. There's about 20 students in a class. And the classes, this is usually, I think the last year it was on Wednesdays. And, class students were in class for 4 hours, and we break them into departments. And we break them into the assistant directing department, camera, lighting, and audio. And they train with an instructor. So there's groups of about maybe 4 or 5 students in a group. And they go over the department, they're in that department for 2 weeks. And they learn about the technology in the department and sort of the basic roles of the department. Really, it's about what those departments do. And then we actually bring them onto a film set. We have a set behind us here, and we begin shooting a scene. And we run them through the different dynamics of staging the scene and what the departments do, those 4 basic departments do to get them started. And so it looks like we're ready to roll. Okay. All right. So I'm going to shut up now. I'll be my own AD, quiet on set. Right? Looks like they're going to stage a shot here where they're going to photograph something, and I won't talk over them, but I'll step aside for a moment, and when in between takes, I'll come back and just kind of talk a bit more.
All right, so ready for rehearsal?
Yes, let's rehearse.
Okay, so hey guys, I'm just gonna sort of talk you through this as they do rehearsal. What's gonna happen is, they're gonna do a little action. The second time our actor on the right goes back to pace, that's when we're gonna start our dolly shot, okay? So Scott, if you're ready, go ahead and call it. We'll see, we'll just get a feel for how the scene's gonna go and what's gonna happen.
Okay, we're ad-libbing a scene. These guys just come back from messing up a heist. We'll just see how it goes. Okay, you guys ready to play? All right, we ready for rehearsal? Okay, action.
It was a 4-digit code, man. How could you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm sorry. I did everything I possibly could. I could have sworn the numbers were 5, 1, 2, and F. I could have sworn it. Oh,
512 and F.
yeah, you know, 4-digit code, right?
$100,000 is what we lost.
Oh,
100,000. Oh, that's all we needed, and we could have been out. But you're gonna screw it up.
well, don't worry, man. I'm telling you, next time I'll remember him. I got this. It's all good.
Next
Under
time.
control.
Next time.
Next time.
Okay, cut. All right.
Can we see that last position there, guys, really quick?
I want you to get a little close, like in his face. Like, I want you to be like, I know it's kind of.
Okay. All right, so I guess I can talk a little bit now again. So that was a take. So basically, normally you would have an AD on set who would quiet the set. They'd do what's called the roll, calling the roll. That is, you know, rolling the camera, rolling the sound, quiet on set, that kind of thing. They do the take. The director calls action. The actors run through their lines. The camera does what they do. Any other things that go on, like perhaps special effects or lighting or gig or rigs or anything like that might happen. And ultimately, the take comes to an end. They call cut. And then the director looks at the monitor, makes determinations, maybe consults with the actors to see if he wants to make any changes in any things that they've done. And typically they'll do at least 2 takes at the very minimum. One's for safety, we call it. So they try to do the take twice perfectly if they can, if they have the time. Or they continue to do the take until they get it right. Stanley Kubrick, if you watch any of his films, you may not be aware, but he was noted for doing hundreds of takes on actors, you know. So some directors are very finicky in what they're looking for. But here we go, we're gonna reset for another take.
Okay, rehearsal number 2 is up.
Yeah, one more rehearsal.
Scott, you ready to look for your levels there? Yeah, we'll come in, I'll help you in 1 second. Okay, rehearsal's up.
Everybody set? Action.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you screw up a 4-digit code?
Oh, look, man, I'm sorry. You know, there's a lot going through my head. It was a really tough heist this time, you know, all by myself there. I could have sworn I had the numbers. I could have sworn it was 5, 1, 2, and F. I could have sworn that was it.
512 and F.
Yeah, 5, 1, 2, and F.
Do you understand? All we needed was $100,000, man, and we could have been out. We could have been done.
I tell you, it was a really hard heist, man. Really hard, but I'll do better next time. Next time, I got this thing. It's all good.
Next time.
Mhm.
Next time.
Down. There it is.
Okay, cut. Let's go for a take.
So, camera operator, was it Javon?
Yeah, action, please. They're a little nervous up here. That's a little good.
And there, when you get tighter, don't be afraid.
Okay, so they're gonna continue on. And as I mentioned before, they continue on until they feel like they got the take correctly. Sometimes it takes longer than anticipated. A lot of things can go wrong during a take, and just something wrong with the camera, with the focus, with the actor blinking too much or looking into the lens. You know, there's a variety of different things that the director looks for to try to pull that performance that they want to see out of the shot. But once they're done, once they get their top shot, then they move on to the next shot. They have to reestablish the camera, move the actors around. Maybe they repeat the action from a different angle. It's called coverage, or they move on to a new scene. So that's the process. But the whole point of the course, at least this one class that we do during this first term, is to establish kind of like a muscle memory for the crew, to know the routine, calling the roll, working together. It's a very synchronized type of effort, and that's what we want them to learn coming out of the gate.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and shoot a take now. We've done a couple of rehearsals. Everybody has to point out their respective jobs, what they have to do. So at this point, if the director's ready to lay one down, he would say we're ready for a take. So as the assistant director / sound recordist, I'm gonna get the crew going, get the cameras rolling. When we've got our machines moving, we'll call action. We'll go for the take. Sound good? You ready for yes, ready for a take, Scott? Yes,
I like that.
Who's not ready, holler aye. Camera, you guys ready for a take? Yep. Sound, you guys ready for a take? All right, let's roll sound, please. Roll. Roll camera.
Speed. Scene one, take one. Marker.
And set, Scott.
All right. And action.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I didn't plan on screwing it up or anything. I could have sworn the numbers were 5, 2, 1, and F. Could have sworn it.
521F? $100,000, man. 100,000. That's all we needed, and we could have been out. We could have been out the game for good.
Look, I'm sorry, man. I know I screwed up on this one. I know I screwed up before too, but next time I swear I got it. I'll remember those codes. No problem. No problem. Next time it'll be good.
Next time I'm gonna kill you.
Cut. All right, nice work, nice work. I didn't see, I was looking at that.
That was very nice on the end frame there. Good job. Very nice.
One more time, say?
Absolutely.
I don't know, we gotta give them something to edit. So.
Have we got any problems? You guys worked all your issues out, ready to go one more time? Scott, you got any notes for these guys?
No, I thought it was good. There was a sound, as soon as he walks back, that's when they go. That second time. Otherwise, yeah, the framing looked good. You don't have to worry about it. Right in there. Maybe a little bit closer.
You ready?
Okay.
Guys all set? Sound, you ready? Okay, here we go. Take it up. Roll sound, please. Roll.
You guys are getting a lesson already. This is cool.
Okay, and roll camera.
Speed. Scene one, take two. Marker.
Okay, and set, Scott.
And action.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. You know, I did everything I could to try to remember it. I could have sworn the intel had told me. I could have sworn it was 5, 1, 2, and F.
5, 1, 2, and F.
Could have sworn it.
$100,000, man. 100,000, we could have been done. Done. Out of the game for good. You're gonna screw it up over a 4-digit code.
I'm really sorry, man. You know, I swear this won't happen next time. Next time it'll all be under control. We'll get the money. We'll get out. No problem.
You say next time?
Next time.
Next time? Next time I'm gonna kill you.
Cut.
Kevin? You guys?
All right, let's.
You got one you want?
I think I like that one. I'm thinking about the time. You want Kevin? How we doing?
If you're good with it, or if you want to do one more, it's up to you.
How are you guys feeling? Anything? Comfortable with it? You comfortable with it? Are you guys comfortable with it?
It's good.
I say we're done. Okay.
Good job.
Say again? Okay.
So with
Can I get the volunteers to the front? We'd like to talk to you about the experience. If you don't mind.
In that way, we would just go about shooting every picture that we need for the movie. One after another, same routine, shot after shot, day after day. That's our routine. Okay, cool. You guys, when you pull the cards, and we'll get those to Josh.
Okay, I don't know how you get the panel work.
Well, we'll send it to the podium, and then they can just chat, and if they feel like being on TV, if not, don't worry.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I just like the audience to hear what your experience was like doing this. If you learned anything stood out to you, anything pretty cool. Just if you don't mind, step up to the mic and share with the TV audience, and also to share with the people who are here what they just witnessed and what you learned that they might not have had the experience. Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Tell us your name too.
Okay, my name is Javante Holmes. I guess just from the experience alone, it was just a different image on the motion picture from what you see it on TV or a movie or anything. So I guess just looking at it from the frame and from the aspect of a different angle of the camera is good to see. So I'll say it was a good experience in general, and just something to learn. It was something new, and I actually learned something in just a small amount of time. So I guess it was a great experience overall. Absolutely. It's different from just seeing it on movies and on television shows. And when you're in person, you actually have to control the view of the audience. It's a different experience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share next? Like, what was like one of the actors, perhaps?
Sure.
Have you been on a set before, and how was this different?
No, that was my first time being on a set, especially a set like that. It was pretty nice. Yeah, but it was definitely fun getting to work up there and change every scene. I felt like it changed a little bit, whether it was like how I was sitting or I don't know, trying to change my voice a little bit. I didn't know if I was supposed to or anything, but yeah, just trying to try a couple different things. So I liked that we got to try that same scene so many times because I got to change a little bit about my character every time, even if it was just the small things. So.
What about the camera around you? Was it a distraction? How did it feel?
It was definitely a different atmosphere, that's for sure. But no, it was, yeah, it was fun. I wasn't really looking at the camera the whole time, so I wasn't really, distracted by it.
You
But
shouldn't have been. That was perfect.
yeah, yeah, no.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was definitely a fun experience.
Cool. Thank you very much.
So hi, it's been a very interesting experience. I actually have been writing for quite a while, but I really wanted to know how the scene from the paper goes to the screen. And I got myself hands on this high-end red cameras. These are used in Hollywood. So lucky me. Team is like, I wish if I had like 2 other extra like hands, because the synergy has to happen between the guy who is actually doing the push and the person who is actually operating the camera. If I believe that the school is what is going to help me do is to put a good team together. So if I'm repeatedly working with the same focus puller, same lighting person, that's going to give me, I'm not sure how practical is that going to be, but if I think this school is going to help me put together a good camera team as I come and join the school and do my coursework and hopefully find other people who I can do teamwork better. And teamwork, I think, is really crucial when it comes to camera.
Yes, it is.
So
I should add that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Sounds like you decided to be here already. I thought I would add that teamwork is important. One thing you'll learn, which was amazing to me, even after being on set a number of times professionally, was finding out what everybody is doing. As an actor, you're kind of treated like a princess, like, come on, okay, say your lines, okay, get off the set, and then all of a sudden, all these hundreds of people go into action. They're crawling up on the ceiling, they're moving lights, they're moving cameras. You don't know what's going on. Once I came to school here in the second semester, I was on a commercial set, and all of a sudden it was like, I know Kung Fu, like in the Matrix when they just injected like this understanding of Kung Fu. All of a sudden, I knew filmmaking. I didn't have to ask. I knew what everybody was doing. And that's kind of what happens. Once everybody knows what they're supposed to do, it's like you have extra arms and legs. You don't have to speak. Everybody knows the job. It's very specific, very particular what everyone must have to do. And that teamwork. We're not an audio school, it's a film school. So,
That's all right, we'll kill that.
I just thought that might. Anyone else? Yes, you want to share some more?
Yes, can I include something else?
Yes, please.
So I guess just from an aspect, from us all being here, I guess it's just natural that we have a passion for the motion pictures. So when I first got on stage and when I first started, it was like a little nerve-wracking, but just from my passion alone, I started getting more comfortable as the directors and as the people was going through it. So it almost came natural. So I guess if we all have a passion for this, it's going to come natural at some point. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other people? You don't have to, but it'll be nice to hear from you if there's something new you learned or cool.
Casey, you want to talk?
I mean, I really just got to refine my pushing and pulling skills. So that's about it.
We have a gym in the back. You can
Yeah,
work.
we really do that.
Cool. Well, thank you all for your help. We really appreciate it. Thanks. You guys take a seat. We'll get
Thanks
us
for the
on.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, again, a big round of applause for the brave souls who came up here. All right. All right, we are going to take a pause for about 12 minutes because the people at home watching are going to take a look at 6 short videos of the class of 2020 and their films they made as their thesis project. So you guys can go back onto Facebook and catch up on what they're seeing. Those of you in the room, you're going to get to stretch your legs a little bit, use the restroom, get some snacks, but the editing room is where we're going to go next. You don't have to go in there. You can hang out here and chat with us if you'd like to, but Josh is going to take the footage we just shot and put it together. So the editing room is just down the hall, first room on your left. Space yourselves out. It's a real big room, big ceiling, but obviously don't be on top of each other. Also, just feel free to talk to any of us about any questions you may have, okay? All right, thanks. So 12 minutes or so, we will kick off again and Zoom will take over from the editing room with Josh. And thanks so much, everybody.
My name is Brendan Schreiber. I'm the writer and director of Amendment. Last September, actually on my car ride to and from MPI, and I was listening to the Inception soundtrack. And obviously there's that famous scene in the hallway. So I was trying to think of something similar with some sort of spy espionage that I thought would be really cool. But I also wanted to add some sort of time travel element into it. But funny enough, what got me first thinking about it wasn't any of the music. It was orientation day, and in walks this kid in these sunglasses, his hair slicked back. And I look at this kid and I go, if you put a gun in his hand and you put him in a suit, he looks like he belongs in Inception. And that was Yang.
My name is Yang Wang, and I play the role Masato. The way I portrayed that character was, he was very serious because he wants to be good. He's a newbie in the film. So he's just trying to do his best in the job. I got a text from somebody, a random person, saying that they wrote a film just for me, like the character. And then I told Connor about it. And I was asking Connor, who's this person that that's just kept asking about me?
My name is Connor McBain, and I am a graduate of the MPI production program and the acting program, and I play Edwin in Brendan Schreiber's Amendment. So Edwin is sort of the guy, you know, cracking the safe. He's the guy sort of behind the scenes of the job, the brains of the operation, if you will, where you have, you know, Masato and Isaiah on the scene, getting the job done, getting the details, nitty gritty. I am the guy, you know, they're kind of relying on to break into the safe. And working with Keanu was an absolute blast. Keanu is one of the friendliest, most humble people you could ever get the chance to work with. And he's super passionate about the film and the collaborative process and how we all get to, you know, put in a little bit of our own spark of insanity to make this cool piece of art.
Amendment was insane from the get. And Brendan comes over to me and he's like, hey, I have an idea. Let me know if you're interested. Here's the script. I start reading and I just couldn't put it down. Before I know it, I'm on the last page and I'm like, oh my word, yes, I'm in this movie. And he did something really ambitious for a short film. We moved like 3 times in a day and we still had time to take a break and play cardhole and eat like sandwiches. Like, it didn't even feel like work. I was just told, hey man, we're gonna roll now, you ready? And I was like, yeah, let me just get this one beanbag in.
Even though by the end of the day, we were all tired. We wish we could go back to that and do that again. But that was a really cool experience, seeing everybody work together and get it done.
My name is Dolores Flynn, and I'm a recent graduate of Motion Picture Institute, class of 2020. My thesis film is called Mama. It's about a woman who suffers from postpartum depression, who decides to leave her family, and she comes back 11 years later to deal with the fallout. I came to MPI as a former journalist, so I've always loved to write. And in graduate school, I took a screenwriting class, which made me fall in love with movies. So it just worked out that the timing was right. I was passing MPI one day on my way to church, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go check that out. And the first time I set foot on the soundstage, it just felt like home. What was most surprising for me is falling in love with directing and working with actors. I really think that's a passion of mine that I wanna pursue in the future.
Dolores Flynn is insanely meticulous. She's got everything down to a pin drop. It's really, really insane. And working with someone like that as an actor, you can't get better than that.
I've been fortunate enough to have been busy since we stopped classes on September 11th. Two projects that I'm most proud of that I can't really say too much about, but it's a Pepsi spot and then a show with National Geographic. And I think what's most significant about those projects is just the impact that they're going to have on other people. They're just very inspirational stories.
My name is Hunter LePan, and I'm a recent grad of the Motion Picture Institute in Troy, Michigan. I'm originally from Canada. I moved here for school. My thesis film is The Superstitions, and it's a film about common superstitions. So like 7 years bad luck when you break a mirror, or if a black cat crosses your path, you get bad luck. And when it came to my thesis, when it came to thesis season time, I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So he's like, well, why don't you like shrink your movie into this? I'm like, but then somebody's gonna steal it. So like, I kind of like was worried about it, but then I just went all out, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just lay it out. And I'm like, I can use this as a pitch. And the school is so great for that, because it gave me the opportunity to understand how pitches work and how like the actual side of the business aspect of film and how that all works. So it was really cool getting to see everything come together, and then to know that I could do something with it in the future, aside from me just having it as a film.
He came to me about that film looking for a happy, lighter tone.
I didn't know how I was going to do a color grade. I just knew that like we talked about it in editing 5, I believe, and I had no idea how to color grade. And my buddy Benson, who was my colorist for my film, but he made everything about that film come to life.
Claire wanted me to approach the look for the bad and good luck in a different way, and showing the difference between our world and then their world. So we got to really experiment with these different shades of purple, and we went for a deeper shade that was still felt lighthearted, but also felt a little like suspenseful and tense at the same time.
I came in knowing absolutely nothing. MPI prepared me for my thesis because you guys made me so over-prepared that I intended to shoot 3 days, but I only did 2. But I learned so much stuff along the way and found out what I wanted to be in the future. And it really, that's what got me through my thesis, because I was so over-prepared and I knew how every department was able to work that I manipulated it to be as convenient as possible. After graduating at MPI, I'm now working for HGTV. So that's pretty cool. Like you're watching something as, like, I don't want to say growing up, but like you're watching something on TV and then you actually work for them. It's a huge thing.
My name is Matthew Jarjosa. My thesis film is Children Are Monsters, and it is about 2 giant monsters that attack Tokyo, a father and son. And the father is trying to teach his son how to be a monster. I was inspired by the Godzilla films of the 50s and 60s. Obviously, I've been a lifelong fan since I was a child. And, you know, that's where I got my first lessons in filmmaking. We had one heck of a time building all the buildings and whatnot. It was day in, day out. We were coming in and, you know, with different materials and putting together, about 30 or so buildings and to try and make up all of Tokyo. It was a lot of effort and it was a lot of hands on deck.
The costume, that was amazing. The makeup, wardrobe, and everything. I love the way that they created this little Tokyo city. Like, because I've seen Godzilla movies, things like that when I was smaller, and I always wondered how it was. And seeing that in person, the way it was shot, it was an opportunity that I've never experienced.
My entire year at MPI was an experience that I really couldn't get anywhere else. It was, you know, a hands-on experience that, you know, I had gone to OCC before, and while I learned a lot about film, I didn't really walk out really knowing how to make a film. And MPI in that regard was truly invaluable for teaching me that process.
My name is Sydney Van Leeuwen. I'm a recent 2020 graduate of MPI, and my thesis film was called Claire de Lune. Film is about a woman who loses her child and has some health issues, mental health and physical. And she begins to think that she sees her child as time passes. Technically, the film spans about 10 years. And over the course of this 10 years, she deteriorates mentally and physically and sees the child more and more. And her husband, who begins to drink heavily, just does not believe her, and he commits her to an insane asylum.
What she was going for was a Haunting of Hill House look, and it had this kind of blue, teal, green, kind of washed out, a little bit rich in the color, but it had this feeling of grogginess and just horror. She was very specific about what she wanted, which really helped me and really bring out the best out of what she was expecting.
Before I came here, I just was kind of lost and I didn't really know what to do. I had gone to a 4-year university. I graduated 2018 with a history degree, and I love history, but I didn't want to teach and I didn't want to work in a museum. So I had jumped from job to job trying to find something that made sense, that worked for me. Winter of 2019, I found MPI. I came to a open house, and I remember sitting there hearing, I think it was Scott. I remember hearing Scott talk, and I just thought to myself, this is where I need to be. This is the place. And then I came here and I met so many wonderful people. I had a great time. It was so much fun. Each film that we got to do, I just saw myself improve as a person, as an industry professional. It's a process, but everything in life is a process. So I'm just enjoying the ride.
Travis Williams. I'm in the class of 2020 from MPI. My thesis film was fun to do. The title is Even the Score. It's about a middle-aged computer programmer. He has a younger wife, so he makes sure he keep her happy. And he's just frustrated that he can't get his credit score to come up to what he wanted to be, so he can live life lavishing. I came to MPI for the sound part of it. I'm a musician, been doing the music for 30 years or so. I learned a lot about film sound is a little different from music sound. I learned how to mix movies opposed to music. It's a different beast. My overall experience was, it was great. Befriended a lot of people. I have new friends now. Most importantly, I have a lot of friends in the movie business. So you need people. You can't just do that by yourself. You need people. And I think it was some good team building skills that we learned here. I think the hands-on approach was very important.
I think that is my cue. Welcome to the edit room. My name is Josh Bowerin. I'm the post-production instructor. I've been teaching this class now for over 20 years. And it's so funny to me how the industry has changed, where when I started, we were really literally taking, 35 millimeter negative and basically using like what you think it would be. Scissors, tape, we cut it together. We get an answer print made. We look at the answer print, we hold it up to the light and see what's going on. Any changes we need to make, then we make copies of it, super expensive. But that's the way we started editing. It has changed so much over the years. When I first started here, we had one Avid. It was $30,000 computer. The hard drives that the footage was stored on, I still have the hard drives. They're right here. $1,000 a hard drive. Here, we'll show our Facebook friends. $1,000 a hard drive, and they only hold 72 gigabytes. Most of us in this room have a 72 gigabyte flash drive in their pocket right now. We shared the mouse, right? I had 5 students in the class. We actually shared using the mouse, and we would kind of just rotate and learn how to edit. We've come so far. Now there's many different types of nonlinear edit programs, meaning we bring the footage into the computer, it's digitized, brought into the edit program. We can edit non-linearly. We can work on scene 28 first. We can work on the beginning of the film first. The programs are cheaper now, the cameras are cheaper now, and of course the thing that we have to really focus on is telling good stories. And that's a lot of what my class really starts to get into, is how do we tell really good stories. I'm going to share my screen here, hopefully. And Kevin's going to release. Kevin, if you're there, release the screen share. There we go. So, in the class, now we start talking about how to tell good stories. And we got all kinds of different cuts that we talk about in our class. POV cuts, reaction cuts, screen direction cuts. And a lot of people ask me, okay, that's great, talking about theory and stuff, and that sounds really fun, but the question always comes back to, what edit program do you use? And I have a secret for you guys. All programs are pretty much the same. It doesn't really matter what edit program you use anymore. Some people ask, what type of computer should I have? And we have a great document floating around the school here that talks about, well, you should have at least this processor and this video card and this much RAM. But honestly, I keep telling people, if you spend, between $800 and $1,000 on a piece of equipment, it'll work, it'll edit. Buy what you like. I like the keyboard. I like the size of the screen. I like the amount of ports it has. Before you leave my computer, the keyboard lights up and it's got, all these LEDs and fancy stuff. Real quick, before we get into the scene that we want to edit, I just want to show you a quick example of different edit programs, right? So this is Avid. This is the best of the best. It was the first. This is what I trained on 20 years ago. This was the $30,000 computer. And look, we have basically an audition window, as we call it, where we can look at our footage. We can we have a bin full of our footage. Let me rewind here. We have a bin full of all our footage. Anything, any asset, music, sound effects, picture takes, audio takes are all in this bin. We review it here in the audition window. We figure out what we want. We put it down on the timeline. Timeline moves from left to right. We get to watch our work over here, our final product. And then, of course, we have a bin full of effects and metadata and anything else that we need to kind of run the project. They were the first. We always respect Grandpa, right? Grandpa Abbott. Thank you for the years of service. But look, it's changed, right? So now we have a program called Final Cut. Same thing, right? Bin full of assets, an audition window, timeline moves from left to right. We get to watch our work in the right-hand window. This is Final Cut 7. If you guys have followed along the Apple Final Cut kind of drama line here, they upped their program, made it $299, and you can get it off the App Store. And a lot of people had a hard time with that. They're like, well, I don't want to just download something off the App Store to edit my $1 million budget feature film. And some people thought it looked like a toy, this new Final Cut X. So I did an example. I cut the exact same thing on Final Cut X. Looks the same to me. And of course, right, bin full of assets, the source window. We get to watch our footage here when we're done. We have a timeline. Timeline moves from left to right. And a bin full of effects and metadata and anything else we need to run the project. And it goes on and on and on, right, folks? Check it out. Here's a program called Smoke. Program called Edius. Anybody recognize this one? Comes with your Mac. iMovie. Great program, right? I mean, as long as you've got cuts and dissolves in your film, heck yeah. Program called Lightworks.
You see the similarities here. This is Adobe Premiere 2021. We have one of my favorites, Sony Vegas. Who knows Sony Vegas? I've been with Sony Vegas. They're up to like Sony Vegas 17 now. I've been with them since Vegas 2. I just like the program. I like the layout. Recognize this one? Windows Movie Maker, right? Now there's no excuses, right? Now anybody can make a movie. You just got to be good at it. The program we're going to be talking about today is this one here called DaVinci. DaVinci Resolve. This is our house platform here at the Motion Picture Institute. It's a free download from blackmagiccreative.com. So you can go and download this program right now onto your computer and you have a full-fledged edit system for free. Some of the things have been scaled back a little bit, but for the most part, it's good to go. You could edit a whole feature-length film on here. And people ask, well, how is that so? How can the software just be free? Blackmagic's got a great business model. They sell hardware, right? They sell monitors, they sell capture cards, they sell edit controllers, they sell control surfaces. And you realize real quick that it's very hard to cut a whole 2-hour movie using your mouse. So what they want to do is they give away the razor and sell you the blades, right? So you get all excited about using their software and it works just like all the other edit programs. But then you go, yeah, I kind of like to have like some trackballs and some buttons and knobs and, you know, some shortcut buttons that I can program in. And you go back to your producer and you buy the $30,000 control surface for color grading. So we're going to be looking at DaVinci Resolve today and processing that scene that you just shot. But I wanted to just get that little quick introduction out there. Remember, it's not really about the edit program. In my class, we actually use DaVinci Resolve just because that's our house platform. That's what we decided to use. But it's really about telling good stories. And that's the other thing that we really focus on in this class. So let's talk about telling good stories. I've already copied over your footage. And I have my assets for today's little project right here. Normally, you would put this on a hard drive. And then you would back up that hard drive. I just threw the footage right here on my desktop for today. But what we have is your 2 picture takes that were done by the Red camera. I've also collected your sound files. Notice I have 3. I don't know why. We'll figure that out as an editor, why we have 3 sound files. And then I also have 2 choices of background ambient music that we can look at here real quick. So here we go. I'm going to fire up my DaVinci program. I'm also make a couple other adjustments with Zoom so that our Facebook friends get a nice viewing experience here. So while we're waiting, my laptop here is a Razer 15, 2019 Razer 15. Pretty fast computer. It's running a hex core i7. I have a RTX 2070 graphics card installed. I also have 32 megabytes of RAM, gigabytes of RAM, I'm sorry. So how much did it cost, Josh? $2,800. But I edit every day of my life, right? And all my projects are due yesterday. So again, we can talk about computer specs and stuff. So the first thing you do when you start editing a movie is you want to start collecting your assets. So I'm going to start going in here and finding your footage. Here's a shot here, and we'll get that into our bin. And I believe there was one more. You guys did 2 shots. Now, I wasn't on set. I have no idea what the script is. So really all I'm doing is just kind of collecting everything that I think is going to be part of this scene. So I have, these are the sound takes from the audio department. We'll bring those in. And then we have my 2 music choices that I just guessed at. We'll just do as temp tracks. And I think we're good. I think we have a good list of assets here ready to go. One of the things I want to do is find out what type of footage did you guys shoot. So looking here, I'm just going to get some information about this file. It tells me that it's 4K footage,
4,096 pixels by 2160. You shot at 23.976 frames per second, or we like to round it to 24, but the bean counters for some reason keep calling it 23.976. So I want to start a new timeline. And I'm actually going to call this take one sync. And normally I would have like something like, you know, this would be like scene 01, setup A, take one. And then I'm going to program in that resolution that we just saw. So we said that this was the big 4K. So here's our number right here. 23.976 frames per second. And this is kind of funny because you actually have to edit, right? So the first thing we're going to do is actually sync picture to sound. You'll notice as I play out the shot, there is no sound with it. We have to put that in there. So if I look at the slate here, and sometimes this is a problem with slates, we want to be able to read this slate. So this is clearly take one. So now I need to find the audio take for take one. So we'll double click on one of these. We'll take a listen.
Please. Rolling. Okay. Speed. Scene one, take one. Marker.
It looks like that's our boy, right? That's our audio file. So I'll drag that file down into another audio track. And now this is the process of syncing picture to sound. I want to get the sticks where they're closed with no blur. That's the key. So as I kind of scroll through here and I'm watching real close, I want sticks closed with no blur, which is right there. Now I can actually see on the audio where the audio smack together right here. So I'm just going to slide my clip back so that the visual of the sticks smacking together and the audio pop of the sticks smacking together should match up.
Marker.
And set, Scott.
All right.
And action.
And we'll check it for sync.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I didn't plan on screwing it up or anything. I could have sworn the numbers were 5, 2, 1, and F. Could have sworn.
I'd say we're in good.
5, 2, 1, F.
I'd say we're in good sync. The problem is with wearing masks. Makes my job easy. But believe it or not, if you're one frame off, you will notice it, right? 1 or 2 frames off, you will notice it. So you really have to be very diligent about getting that picture to sync the sound. This shot's ready to go. I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit, right? Trim off some of the fat. I'll move this back to the beginning of the timeline so it's nice and up at the front there.
Scene one, take one. Marker.
And believe it or not, I'm done with this timeline. I'm done with this movie. We'll trim off the fat on the end here. Now I'm actually going to create a whole nother sequence. So I'll go create new timeline. This will be, and again, I would use what they wrote on the slate. So this is setup 01, scene 01, setup A, take 2. Check my settings. Yep, we're still in super high res. No, we're not. So I'll change it to our 4K resolution. Drag down the other take, which is probably this one. That is definitely take 2 on the slate. I'll grab my sound for take 2, which is probably the other file. And we'll just listen to it real quick.
Speed. Scene one, take two. Marker.
So I confirm that this is in fact scene 1, take 2. So you saw why it's so important for them to read the slates on set, because I wasn't on the set. I lied. I was in the back of the room, but typically I never know what's going on these shows. So anything, usually I have like a camera log here that tells me, shot 01A take 1 goes with audio file 210130803. Here I'm just kind of winging it, but I know nothing. I don't know what the scene's about just yet. I may have had a quick talk with the director and the cinematographer to find out, what what kind of look they're going for, or what kind of, production design they're going for. But for the most part, you're kind of doing this, as I like to call, like a forensic kind of evaluation, right? You just kind of feel your way through it. So now I got take 2 ready in the window. We'll check it.
And action.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I did everything I could.
I'm done with that one. And this timeline's done. And then I would start a new timeline. I spent most of my early career being a first assistant editor, and that's what I did. 8 hours a day. I lined picture up with sound and made a new timeline. That's, just kind of going up through the ropes. So let's say we've done, 50 different baby timelines now where we sync picture to sound and got them all lined up. Now I pass it on to the editor, the actual editor. So I'm going to change my hat here. Now I am the editor. And my new timeline is going to look like this. I'm going to call this master scene 0A take 1. Right? And I'm going to check those project settings real quick, make sure that I'm doing a 4K timeline. Here we go. And this is where I'll actually start putting the scene together. So what I'll do here is I'll take my baby timeline, and I heard, or let's say I looked at my camera log and I looked and Scott printed take 2. That's the take that he said he liked. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to drag my baby timeline back into the source window here, which let me get that lit up. That's a great question. That's an actually great question. 2 reasons. Number one, some cameras just don't record sound in this, 32-bit, 48,000 kilohertz. Most DSLR cameras don't even have like an XLR input on them. So we want the sound department to record and capture the best quality sound we can possibly get. The other thing is really just to break up the team a little bit. It's too much for the cinematographer to have to worry about, are levels okay? Is the sound okay? Was the microphone close enough? We'd rather keep it a separate department where we have, the cinematographers worrying about cinematography and the audio engineers worried about the audio. And then back in the day when we're shooting film cameras really never recorded sound unless it was, some of these Eclair cameras that were used for news. Sometimes they had like a little sound recorder built into the camera. But for the most part, we are, we still to this day shoot those 2 departments separately. We want both teams to focus solely on their area. It's too much just to have the camera crew worry about all the sound stuff. And mistakes happen, quality issues happen. So let's take our take 2 timeline. I'll put it down. And if you notice, now I have a clip that is nice and synced and ready to go. And even though
it was a 4-digit code, how can you?
That doesn't mean that I'm going to ignore take 1. I might go into take 1 and pick and poke at some line delivery. I might look at, especially if we have multiple setups, right? You guys just did one setup. But imagine if you had a 01B and a 01C. So we had like a close-up of character 1, a close-up of character 2. We had our master shot. All because Scott printed take 2 doesn't mean 0B take 3 and 0C take 4 is off limits to me as an editor. No. Like I have access to that and I'm going to use it. I might even just steal a word. Maybe I like the way he says, the number, the way they call out the confirmation number. Maybe I like him reading that in take C. So just so you know, in the edit room, even though he printed take 2 here, I'm going to look at all of it and see if I can have some fun with that and, pick and choose. And with them wearing masks, and this is not just a COVID thing, right? We have plenty of movies where they're wearing bandanas around their face, or maybe it's a shot over the shoulder and I don't actually see their mouth. Or maybe it's, Darth Vader. Darth Vader, you can do anything you want, right? So I want is your homework when you go watch movies, if you don't see the actor talking on camera, I guarantee that is not the sound that he spoke during that camera roll. Think about it and challenge yourself for that. If you don't see their mouth physically full screen on the screen, if you don't see their face, chances are that sound did not go with that. Now, this is just one establishing shot here, so we're not going to get too tricky. Let's watch to see what we
It was a
got.
4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I did everything I could to try to remember it. I could have sworn, the intel had told me, I could have sworn it was 5, 1, 2, and F.
5, 1, 2, and F.
Could have sworn it.
$100,000, man. 100,000, we could have been done. Out of the game for good. You gonna screw it up over a 4-digit code.
I'm really sorry, man. I swear this won't happen next time. Next time it'll all be under control. We'll get the money. We'll get out. No problem.
You say next time?
Next time.
Next time? Next time I'm gonna kill you.
That would be our cut.
Cut.
So I'll trim off the cut, obviously. So I'm just grabbing the edges of these picture and audio clip. We'll trim that off.
Okay.
Let's have some more fun with this, right? Let's go over into our color grade module. This is what DaVinci Resolve really was made famous for, and that's its color grading. Shots come into us and they're kind of raw and flat and basic, and we want to give it that look. So as I start going through, I'm just going to kind of clean up my real estate on my screen here, just give me some more room to look at stuff. And I have my waveform over here. So the first thing I would do is create a new node. And this will be what I call my primary correction node. And you guys, I teach all of this, right? We will learn every single button, believe it or not, on this screen. So I'll start going through and just making judgments like how, dark or thick, as we call it, is the shadows. I'll get that kind of dialed in. My midtones, how much is the contrast? So we want this to be a little moody, but not so moody I can't actually see their faces. And we'll set our highlights, the brightnesses in the scene. We can even go through and let's say we had a problem with, actually, let me do this. So my primary is done. I'm going to add another node. And let's say we had a problem with one of the actors, like maybe some of the face wasn't, quite lit perfect. So I can come in here now and just put a mask around his face. And then I'm actually going to track that face, right? And DaVinci does this very quickly and very well. So his face moves around the screen. It'll kind of stay locked on him. And I can address things like lighting issues. I can address focus issues. Granted, if it's a lot out of focus, we're not going to be able to help it too much, but if it's slightly out of focus, we can help it out a little. So now that that's tracking, I'm just going to stop it halfway there. So now when I go and make any changes to this, you'll see that it actually just stays locked on his face. So I can start to look at his face a little bit. I'm going to change his skin tones just slightly. So we'll come in here and try to warm up his skin tone just a little bit. He got kind of pale on us. I can make him look super, super tan if I want. We don't want that much. And this is the process of, color grading. You have kind of your primary, and then you go into all these secondaries. And then I might add another node here real quick, and we'll do, we'll give it its look, right? And we know what these looks are. We've seen this before. This would be like the famous teal and orange, right? Action film look. Or what about something like Fight Club green, right? The Pleasantville pastels, or Brother, Where Art Thou? So as we start to kind of add these different looks, I can start to, give it that kind of Fight Club green look, that sickly look. that render out. One last thing that we'll talk about before we toss it back to Scott here is our sound, right? So we'll go to our audio editing tab. This is super fun. I'll go to my media pool. Remember, we pulled in a couple music tracks here. We'll see what we think of it. Obviously, it's going to be super loud. So over here on my mixer, I'm actually going to start to adjust the levels of this audio. It should not, should not take center stage, right? It should just be nice and low in the background.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I did everything I could to try to remember it. I could have sworn, the intel had told me, I could have sworn it was 5, 1,
I'm just
2,
making adjustments
F.
as I'm playing.
5, 1, 2, and F.
Could have sworn it.
$100,000, man. 100,000, we could have been done. Out of the game for good. You're going to screw it up over a 4-digit code.
All kinds of stuff we can do in here as far as, noise reduction, pulling out the EQ of their voices so their voices pop a little more. If it was raining out, I'd probably put some rain and thunder in the background. And you see, it goes really deep. I can have all kinds of audio tracks lined up down here and really finesse this clip up. When I go back to my edit tab, here's everything ready to go.
It was a 4-digit code. How can you mess up a 4-digit code?
Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. I did everything I...
Any questions? I kind of blew through that fast.
How come when you're watching a movie, the character audio drops down, they're whispering, you gotta crank up the volume a little bit. As soon as they stop talking, the background music jumps up 850 decibels.
So the question was, when we're watching a movie at home, why does the dialogue seem to be at one level and then the music comes in and it's super loud? That is actually a byproduct of the 7.1 surround sound that we as Americans really fell in love with. And a lot of these movies were mixed for 7.1 surround. And honestly, a lot of the discs you're playing or movies you're watching on Netflix and Hulu and all that are 7.1 surround sound ready. The problem is if you only have a stereo system, depending on your amplifier, your playout equipment, what kind of coding it's reading off of the audio file, it is a mess up. They need, and I'll jump on your bandwagon. They need to work on that. That is a problem. There's no real easy way at the end user equipment to take 7.1 surround sound. We're talking 7 channels of audio plus a subwoofer, that's the 0.1, and be able to just reconfigure it to left and right speaker. Or maybe you have a simple system even, left, right, and a center speaker. So it is a problem, absolutely. I've noticed that. And I think the industry is working on that issue of, how can we conform 7.1 to just plain old stereo on somebody's TV at the end user, and they haven't quite figured that out yet, I'll be honest. Any other questions before we wrap out?
So how do you sing the audio if you're recording the dialogues in the studio environment?
How do you sync the audio or?
Yeah, when you get your talents, after taking the shots, get them to a dubbing facility.
That's a great question. So what that does is we'll go back to our audio thing here. I'm gonna take my music out just for demonstration purposes. What we have, and all the edit programs have this. This is just what DaVinci's looks like. It's called ADR recording. So I can actually set all this up so that, I'll just quickly do it here. So my record track is going to be audio 2. That's where this new information is going to come in on. I'm going to say my guide track is track 1. So I can actually hear what they said on the set at the time. And I'm going to, and this is probably going to get weird with my audio. So I'm going to patch my microphone here into channels left 2 and right 2. And because the microphone's hooked to Zoom right now, I'm curious to see if this is going to explode up on me or not. Yep. So we'll turn our speakers down in the room. I'm going to arm this track for record. So here you hear my microphone going. I would be wearing headphones. I can come back over here to my my transport. We'll do a new ADR cue here real quick. And we're going to say from here to here is this track's highlighted, and I set up my rehearsal. It's going to count me in. And now as I'm listening in my ear, I'm watching the screen and trying to best I can replay the lines that I did on set in a nice recording environment.
Oh! Look, man, I'm really sorry about this one. You know, I did everything I could.
Digit coming. It was a 4-digit code. How can you?
And I'll click record. It's going to count me in.
4-digit code.
And I'm listening when I'm talking.
What?
You messed up the codes? And then it draws the line in. So this is the new ADR, additionally dialogue recorded sound. And then I can go back and review it. I can rate it. I can go, yeah, that was pretty good. But let's try again. I'll click record. It'll take me back to the top. I'm going to try again. This is me dubbing over these guys. And the director goes, nope, that wasn't it. I'll just hit record again. And what did you do? You said those codes were. You try it until you get it. And the editor can sit in here and label these. And finally, when you get one that's got 5 stars, that'll be the audio that you recorded in there.
Basically, you still have to have the ability to record sound on set.
Yep.
But then again, have your talents like listen to it and reproduce
Yep.
the same
Yep.
thing in the studio.
And I've had to do that. You'll play the clip over and over and over and over until they get it perfect. The good news is when you're working with professional actors, they can deliver lines just like they're singing a song. And they can even do it weeks and months later. They just watch it once and they go, oh yeah, okay, I remember what key I was in. I remember how fast I said it. All right, I'm ready. Go ahead and record. And they nail it every time. It's amazing. It's so fun to watch. It's like you did that like 2 weeks ago on the set. And they come into the big fancy sound room and they just record it in, and it sounds just like they said it on set. Amateur actors are going to have trouble with that. And unfortunately, unless they nail it, you're going to notice it. Great question, though. Yeah, that's called ADR, additional dialogue recording.
Is it necessary to be like background music and stuff? Like I don't think I ever need it. Like just people talking, no background noise.
That's like an acquired taste. I tend to put too much music in. Absolutely. Music, we learn about like moods and feelings and how score can help a scene. And, music is really used kind of as a cheap trick to get people into the feel of, the moment. But you're right. If your actors are doing their job, your cinematographer is doing their job, and your sound design is good, you don't really always need music. One of the things that I've challenged my students to do is watch a movie and tell me how many times there's music rolling in the background. And they've come back with like 87% of the movie has some type of music somewhere throughout the film. But that's just your production design with you, your director, your editor, your producers, your screenwriters. But yeah, I agree. Some scenes can live without it.
Any other questions? We're going to come back onto the stage here. Thank you, Josh, for your time. If you want to stick around and ask Josh some questions.
Thank you.
We're going to go back on the stage and wrap up any Q&A, and we'll call it a day.
Thank you very much.
That's a good question.
I'm actually saving money to pay for the tuition and all.
Good. Okay, so thank you all, everybody at home and TV land, internet land, for joining us today. And we hope that you were able to get some of the experience that people who attended here had to get a sense of what it's like to come to this school. Before we sign off, I'd like to remind you of a few things. This year, we have an April 5th start date, which is awesome. I think people have been asking for a spring start for many long years now, and now you have to wait till September to start. April 5th is our new start. So get your applications in. The application process is very simple. We have it online at our website. I'll give you that. You probably have it, whatever you're looking at now, but I'll read it for you in a minute. It's www.motionpicture.edu. motionpicture.edu. Again, you're also FAFSA eligible for federal student loans and Pell Grants. And if you'd like to come in for a private tour, if you weren't willing to come in today, or if it's too crowded for you, we could give you a private tour. Just give us a call. Numbers on the website, and we will arrange to escort you around the building and show you the facilities and the equipment that we have available. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn my attention to the people who are here, but we hope to meet you all in the future and that you decide to join the MPI family. All right. How was it in there?